What if I told you this cape was designed by the most exclusive fashion house in the 1890s? This is a reproduction of a House of Worth design, basically the Dior of the Victorian era. We're talking haute couture, intricate detail, fine fabrics that wealthy clients would die for.
Mine.
But here's the thing. I'm going to show you how to make your own version that is actually wearable today, no expert skills required. So whether you're building a Victorian wardrobe, need the coziest winter statement piece, or just want to flex some serious fashion history knowledge, let's make this cape together. We have some pretty wool. This is coating. It's kind of heavy. It's gonna be toasty. I don't know how much I'm gonna be able to wear this cloak, but when I need it, it's gonna be good to have it. We also have the pattern. It is literally only this piece and the collar. This is Laughing Moon number 170. This is the wrist length 1890s cape. It is a full circle cape with darts on the shoulders. Probably could have figured this out myself, but you know what? I didn't feel like doing the math. It was a $5 pattern. Didn't take long to assemble. No regrets. What did take a while was plotting out the design. And I think the worst part is going to be tracing this all onto the cloak. So the goal for today, get the cloak cut out and deal with this mess. Thanks to this being a full 60 inches wide, we're just able to squeak this out without folding the fabric in the other direction. Yellow, blue, green. I hope one of them works. Definitely not the yellow, but both the green and the blue look decent. Okay. Deep breath. Here goes. I first attempted this process with a double thickness of fabric, but it became clear to me quickly that idea wasn't going to work. Too thick, too much nap, not showing on the other side. So eventually I gave up and split the halves to do one at a time. I also found laying down lots of sheets and doing large chunks at a time served better than doing a small amount with 1 or 2 sheets at a time. Didn't realize when I bought this, it was elasticated, but that will actually help us. So let's tack on the first layer of trim. The trick on the curves is to use a lot of pins. For those of you who aren't familiar with Charles Frederick Worth, he was a very popular English designer of the 19th and early 20th centuries. Even if you're not familiar with the name, you're probably familiar with at least some of his more popular designs, like the ironwork dress, this one with the butterflies, or this, my personal favorite, and something that is on my to make list as soon as I can figure out how to actually do it, this tea gown. Oh my God, y'all, this is so random, but I am so excited about this and I had to share it with somebody. I found my mini tube light. This thing, I have been looking for it for 2 months, every single day, wondering where did it go? Where did it go? I looked behind the couch, I looked behind my bookshelves, I looked in my stash pile, and today I was like, I'm gonna find it. Eventually I lost my temper and pulled all the cushions off the couch, and lo and behold, this stupid thing was sitting underneath all of the cushions, stuck between the crack where the sofa bed starts. Now I can have pretty lighting again. Yay! Okay, what do we think? There we go. Oh, oops, that's the wrong light. This feels very Blade Runner for some reason. Blue, purple, that's better. Okay, I did learn a few valuable lessons while I was doing this last night. The first and most important one was not to get too excited with putting all of the trim on pinned onto the cape at a time. Because of all the curly cues and because of all of the weird angles, I was definitely getting pins shoving into my fingers in some of the weirdest angles I've ever had in my life. Do not advise that. I also learned it probably would have been a good idea for me to sketch this out with the trim already there so that I could have spaced everything out properly. Unfortunately, I needed to know how much trim there was before I could order the trim. And as of right now, I'm estimated to use about 28 yards of this 3/4 inch trim. I'll let you know at the end of the video what my actual yardages were for each size trim. That way, if you want to make something like this, you have a template to go off of so you can order some of your trim first and then make your design. I do want to say this is quite a pleasant thing to do. I'm enjoying this process. It's going together a lot quicker quicker than I expected. Of course, this big trim goes faster because it's big. We'll see when we get to the gathered trim how that goes, but it's nice to work on something kind of mindless. I have been working on this while I'm working on my natural form dress, and since that is definitely not mindless, it's nice to have a break. Okay, I'm gonna keep at this. I'll catch up with you in a little bit. The sun has appeared from behind the clouds that have been blocking it all day, and since it no longer looks like we're watching this in dungeon vision, let's contemplate the next stage of ribboning. So I purchased this, I think it's 3/8 inch organza ribbon for this, and originally I was going to pleat it, all 13 yards of it. What the fuck was I thinking? Needless to say, that decision changed very fast once I got the ribbon, and now what we're going to do is gather it. This still creates a little bit of extra work for us because we're having to modify the ribbon, so if you wanted to do this and make it much simpler, you wouldn't have to do that, but I really like how the original cape has so much texture to it. I don't plan to recreate this cape completely. I've decided to make it a little more tailored and nix the frou-frou, both for the sake of budget because you know this is silk organza, time because who has the time to pleat all that, and because, well, it looks like, yeah. Moving on, I'm going to machine gather this. There is no way in heck I'm going to do it any other way. So let me show you the weird little idea I have. First, you'll want to measure each swirl with the straight organza ribbon. You'll want 2.5 times that length for each swirl. Don't forget to burn the edges. Gather it up to the length you need. Make sure you gather from both sides so the stitching doesn't slide out. If you choose a straight ribbon to do this, note that you will have a harder time going around the curves, and the wider the trim, the harder it'll be. I highly recommend you use something bias cut like bias cut silk ribbon, or if you don't care about historical adequacy, just get something elasticated. Even though this is going to take a lot longer than the first set of trim, I really think the gathering adds to the look of this piece. 100% worth it. Something I'm not doing here and will learn very soon after, trim all of your threads after each piece is pinned, or you'll want to shout at everything. I do want to address that burning question you have mulling around in your head. How the heck do I wear this IRL? Well, the TLDR answer is, you put it on, you go outside. Help fight the plague of athleisure. Be fabulous. People will compliment the heck out of you and nobody will question why you're wearing it. But the more nuanced answer depends on your situation. Me, I plan to wear the heck out of this just when I'm at home. Because it's so hot here 9 months out of the year, I refuse to turn the heat on until it gets below 57 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I wrap myself up in all the layers and I'm a happy little burrito. I also do plan to wear this at actual historical events when it gets chilly, but you could easily wear this to work, especially if you have a fancier dress code, or you can wear it out when you go out to eat or go to the movies. Honestly, the great thing about a cape is it's always appropriate. And because of the way it's constructed, it won't crush any of your clothing or hinder your movements. The third stage of trim is going to be 1/8 inch soutache. This is a very popular style trim for the time. We're going to use this to fill in the stamens, stems, and leaves of my large, fluffy, frilly flowers. This is definitely the most fiddly of all of the trims since it has 100% zero stretch. The sun is setting, my hair is wet, but y'all, it's time to noodle out this collar. All right, here's the OG collar. I've traced that onto a separate sheet of paper and put in the seam allowances. So this is a 1 1/4 inch tall collar. I want it to be 4 inches plus a 2-inch flap on the back and 1.5 inches plus 2 inches plus a 1.5 inch flap on the top. We need to extend this up. We're gonna ignore this for now. That didn't work, so next I slashed and spread to create more of a curved top edge. Nope. More slash and spread attempts. That's kind of better. We folded the edge back a little. Meanwhile, we're still sewing trim over here. I found that the soutache was very difficult to sew while pinned. It turned out to be easier to pre-measure each length and then sew freely, easing the material around the curves with one hand while I sewed with the other. It made for much smoother curves. The original design has much more of this thin style trim on it, but since the soutache is really for the ball gown that will go underneath the cape, we're going to apply it sparingly. I want to say a huge thank you to all of my contributors over on Ko-fi. Thank you so much for continuing your support and helping this channel. Words cannot express how much I appreciate you. But there are many other ways to support if you don't have the means. Just hitting that thumbs up button and saying hello in the comments, or just watching till the very end of the video help this channel out so much. Here's the finished trim. Ooh, ah, fancy. Now we can finally sew those darts. Guess what? Collar's not working. Nobody's surprised. However, in light of time and my own sanity, I've decided not to reinvent the wheel and redraft it, but to take a little bit of a nod to the late 14th century. The one person who has been on my channel from the almost very beginning will remember when I made this. Everybody else, this is my medieval Maleficent costume, and this is a very nice collar. Almost the right shape for what we're doing today. I have the pattern somewhere. I moved it around and moved it around, but I'm afraid that it is in a tub somewhere in my craft closet, and I think it's going to take me longer to dig that out than it would be just to copy it off of the actual costume. So let's get the table set up and see what we can do. Okay, let's shorten the collar to the dimensions we want. We also need to reduce the width because the neckline is much closer than the houppelons. And now to shorten the back. And even out the seams. Pretty darn close in height, but what a difference in shape. Here are the finished front and back pieces. They go like this. They are not perfect. I'm having a particularly hard time getting the neckline to fit along the cape for some reason, but I've been through at least 6 iterations of this pattern piece, and my patience only goes so far. So this is how it's gonna be, and we will fake it till we make it. So let's go get it cut out and work on the decoration. This is infuriating. I have this extra line here. If I didn't, this would fit as it is. That much too short. That much. For the trim, we'll put the largest trim all along the sides and the top of the collar. Then, even though it's the most work, we'll use the middle-sized gathered trim to fill in the design. Fun fact, this collar ain't gonna stand up on itself, thanks to my personal bane, gravity. So we're going to need to reinforce this if we're gonna have any kind of loft. The first thing we're gonna do is interface it with buckram. This is not millinery buckram, this is collar buckram. How do you know the difference? This was $6 a yard at Mood. If it's less than, say, $20 a yard, it's probably not millinery buckram, and it won't hold your hats up. I learned that the hard way. Thanks for asking. Let's get this assembled, basted together, and see how that does. Time to get out the grown-up supplies. This is millinery wire. I forget which gauge it is, but it's on the heavier side. Probably could go with medium weight wire, but this is what I have, so that's what we're using. We'll start by putting it along all of the vertical seams. When you're doing this, make sure the wire is about 1/4 inch shorter than the seam line on all sides, or you'll have a time sewing the seams themselves. Okay friends, we are fully wired, so now let's go get this baby assembled. A rational person would have assembled the whole collar and then attached it to the cape, but I had basted the collar to the cape in an earlier step and CBF to undo it. Now for the lining. I knew it'd be hard to exact match this red wool online, so I picked a complementary scarlet shot with a teal ribbed silk from Silk Baron. As always, the camera never does the shot silk justice, but know that it looks fabulous IRL. I would fully recommend, if you have the time and the ability, hand stitching this whole collar down to the cape. This was very stressful because it was so curvy. That is an understatement. I was cussing. Scandalizing the neighbors notwithstanding, now we get to trim down all that bulky fabric in preparation for turning. There we go, everything fully lined. This is where we're at with the collar. I ended up putting a wire at the very top, which really helped the curve. I did have it all the way down to the edge, but then when I put it on, it was like, I felt like my neck was in a vise, and that was not comfortable. I did not want that. So I ended up taking out the top wire in the top of the curve, as well as the center front wire. Now it's not perfect. It wants to kind of fold. I have to fiddle with it to get it to the curve that I want, but I'm okay with that for now. As of right now, the weather for my Dickens event in Galveston next weekend is looking to be in the lower 60s during the day, at least on Saturday. So I'm gonna need to have this done and ready in case that actually happens. It might not, but I would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it like last year. So for now, I'm gonna live with the imperfect collar. Between the time this video airs and the time that I really need it is about 3 months. So I may go back in and add a little bit more structure to the center front, but as of right now, I'm done fiddling with it. Let's add the last bit of trim and get this baby finished. And with the last bit of trim finally done, we're ready for the reveal. I did end up adding some silk ties to this because the coat hook and eyes that I put on originally just did not want to stay closed. And while the collar isn't perfect, I am so enamored of this, and I think it's going to get a lot of use in the near future. Hopefully this has inspired you to make one as well. I would love to see it in a different color, like purple or hot pink or lovely shade of blue. So we have this fabulous cape. What do you wear underneath it? A ball gown, of course. You can watch that video here, or if you're watching it before it goes live, because we all know how long a ball gown takes to make. How about checking out another 1890s staple that can level up your everyday wardrobe? A tea gown. That's it for me. Thanks for watching. I love y'all, and I'll catch you in my next video.